Welcome, everybody, to the December Town Commission meeting of the Town of Ocean Ridge. Happy holidays, everyone. It's already here. Wow. Tracy, could you call a roll?
Certainly. Commissioner Askoff,
Present.
Vice Mayor Bonfigvale,
Here.
Commissioner Cos,
Here.
Commissioner Magruder,
Here.
and Mayor Pugh.
Here. All right, could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. All right, any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda? All right, hearing none, anybody make a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as set forth in the agenda of December 4, 2017.
Motion, is there a second? Motion is second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, moving on to public comment. Who's first? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, nice to see you all again. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays. I'm Clara Caldwell. I'm at 48 Spanish River Drive. We have a contingency here from Inlet K. We just wanted to get an update as to what was going on. We understand, excuse me, we understand that the engineering company was there, or some company was there, and they had found some problems, some of which still persist because we still have a lot of water accumulation, though there is no high tide. So I think we're all here to hear what is going on.
Well, that's two-sided questions. One about what's going on with the water, and then there's one about the engineering study.
One is what we're going to do to address the issues that can presently be addressed insofar as the drainage system is concerned with the water that's there. And the second one is, how is the engineering study going?
Okay, the first one would be done by the town manager's report, and the second one will be done as number,
I think it's 14.
that's number 11 in the action item.
11 and 13, Mayor.
11 and 13.
11 and 13 on the agenda tonight.
Okay, so they're both addressed.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
13, not 14.
Terry, you're up.
Good evening, Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. I just wanted to bring up something that I brought up previously and other people have brought up and complained about, and this is short-term rentals. On the most recent one is vacation rentals by owner. They advertise 3-night rentals, and they've done it. They're right next door to me. And I know that they advertise on that website, and I think Home Away or whatever the other ones are. And I know the chief made a comment that you can't cite anyone for advertising those type of rentals on the website. But there needs to be some kind of coordination with the county tax collector and the property appraiser when this occurs. I had suggested a while ago that someone in the clerk's office, I know they have a lot of work, coordinate that when they get a complaint. Now my neighbor did call and complained, and the home went on the enforcement list, but the people were gone. So there was no one there. But the owner is still doing it. So I was just wondering if we could get someone to kind of review that. This is going to be the height of the season, and there's going to be rentals everywhere, right? Less than 30 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Have anything short to add to that, Chief?
We are working with the property appraiser's office. They have a specific unit that just addresses bed tax, which is how they attack the short-term rental issue in Palm Beach County.
Thank you.
I have no idea what he said. Did they coordinate?
Yeah, for the bed tax people.
Yeah.
You know how the tax man is.
Well, I know, but when you call them, they say, well, we have no record of them. I've called them. What's out?
Working on it.
Number 27.
There's an online form that you can report yourself if they are saying that we're not calling them. And then it is a record on their website if you'd like to do it yourself.
Yeah, I've done that also.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay, thank you very much. Herb?
Herbert Stiletsky, 47 Spanish River Drive.
I see that a fire hydrant has been raised over at the end of the Bimini Drive cul-de-sac on the left-hand side. The one on the corner of Bimini and Spanish River Drive is so low you couldn't get a spinner wrench on it. And I understand that the fire department had been in a number of times to do it, and they couldn't get any comment from the office on it.
Chief, anything about
That's just
fire hydrant?
hearsay, but that fire hydrant is down about 1.5 feet. The coverage for the water is practically touching the ground, and that should be addressed. That's a fire hazard.
Thank you.
It does exist. I'll check with the fire department and see if it's an issue, and work with the town manager and see if we can't get Line Tech out to raise that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. All right, let's go to the approval of the consent agenda. Anybody make a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, announcements and proclamations. Town Hall will be closed on Monday, December 25th in observance of Christmas Day. Town Hall will also be closed on Monday, January 1st in observance of New Year's Day. And due to the New Year's Day holiday, the Town Commission will hold its regular meeting on January 8th, 2018 at 6 o'clock. The municipal election will be held on March 13th. There are 2 Town Commission seats open for a 3-year term. Candidate filing dates run from noon on December 4th, today, through noon on December 8th, 2017, Friday. All right, public hearings, none. Reports. Jamie?
Thank you, Mayor. My full report is in your backup package. I'll just hit a couple of highlights for you and answer any questions. First of all, I hope many of you got to attend our holiday lighting festivities on Friday night, and thank you to all of you for coming. I want to especially thank the town staff. I think they really pulled it out this year and did an exceptional job. I've heard many comments that it was one of the better ones we've had in a while, and it was especially nice to have live music and all the other niceties going on. So my kudos to town staff, and I just want them to hear that from me and have that on the record. Also, of course, I'd like to thank the Garden Club volunteers, the police reserves, and the police members, everybody that was involved with it. It was really a group effort, and it came off exceptionally. First item I want to talk to you about, just real briefly, is that each year, historically, our Garden Club, which has been in town, as you know, for about 50 years plus, holds an event, a garden and estate sale type event, and they hold it in this facility. In order to facilitate them and make it come off without a hitch and give them some special permissions on signage and access to the building and a little bit of staff time, I'm asking for direction from the commission to look at this event like an officially town sanctioned function so that we can assist them in that process. It happens in February. I don't know the exact date. There is a backup in your package. Lisa Rotota is here. She is kind of spearheading the event on part of the Garden Club. And did you want to say anything briefly about it, Lisa? Very briefly.
Lisa Rotota for Hudson Avenue. No, what I wanted to do was to really bring a lot of foot traffic from out on A1A, because we do this one day a year, and I really want to get as many people as possible here. I want to purchase a flag that's only going to be shown once a year outside the front here. So it's quite tall, but this is pretty much what I'm going for. So.
It's not one of those things that go like this.
No, it's all one of those. It is a feather flag, so that's what I would like to be able to do. And it only will be brought out one day a year, and then at the beginning of that week, our little signs that we had for the 50th anniversary, I'd like to be able to place them at the entrances to all of town that week, showing that the date is, so motorists that are coming and going and foot traffic will know ahead of time that particular week that there's going to be a big event here. So that's what we would like to be able to do.
So you need, I thought we already did the use of the community room. I thought we already made that
Yeah, we actually cleaned it up and made it more difficult for most groups. So the Garden Club is,
Welcome to the.
kind of got a special status in the town from all its history and involvement and volunteerism. So if we officially sanction the event, then staff can just give them certain permissions in conjunction with this event without going through all the extra hurdles.
Well, it is called the Town of Ocean Ridge Garden Club, right?
What
Do you
does
want a
town?
motion?
Do we need a motion for that? Just to
I
get-
just,
Well,
well,
tell me as to where, what town sanctions.
consensus is okay with me unless the attorney says I need a motion.
Sure.
To approve
I have
for
a
the flag.
question. Town sanction liabilities, what's it mean to us?
Well, I'm not so much there's a liability issue. I mean, we're saying it's a, and I think the use of the word where it's town sanctioned. Jamie, I think what we're saying is it's just affiliated with the town.
Yes, so
Okay, so there's a little difference there. I mean, we're just saying it's affiliated with the town. We aren't,
Responsible.
exactly. That's the way I'm looking at this.
we're preempting them from having to go through all the steps that an outside unknown organization would go through to fill out the forms and do all kinds of things because we work with them on a regular basis.
Okay, does anybody make a motion?
I move that we authorize the Garden Club to use, the town hall for their February annual seasonal event.
As a town sanctioned event.
It's a town-approved event.
that would include. Well, wait. Shouldn't we do it to where, end it once and for all and say, okay, the town of Ocean, we make a motion, the town of
Annual.
Ocean Ridge is a town, how am I gonna word this, Brian?
Well, I tell you what, can we just, maybe this year, let's just do it for this one event, and then when it comes up next year, we'll have the language for you where we can, I get what you're saying, where we would like to do it
It's
in,
just
yes, exactly.
Perpetuity,
So, but because I need to find out from the town manager exactly, what are all the things that we're talking about possibly waiving or where they're able to do that, to do certain things, so.
all right, well, in the meantime, what about the flags? Flags are okay?
Yeah.
So the flags, everybody, we make
the
the
one
flags
day.
are okay for the one day, so the flags are okay for one day. Why don't we bring the other thing back next month to do the perpetuity thing? I mean, you don't need that much time to give us something.
So we don't need the motion now, we'll do it next.
We'll do it next
month.
meeting.
Okay, I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome, thank you.
Thank you. Quick update, the Phase 2 paving portion is done. We still have a punch list working, and a few people, still have some issues out there. I understand that our crews will be on Island Drive tomorrow fixing some driveways and doing some final touch-up work on that. Let's see, I did want to report that we just received some additional revenue a year plus later from a reimbursement from FEMA from Hurricane Matthew. It takes them about a year plus to get some of those funds back. We got a check for about $27,000 in for that. And we are currently going through Hurricane Irma recovery efforts with FEMA, and we have numerous meetings and auditing going on for that purpose. So we do anticipate getting another check from FEMA on Hurricane Irma, but it will be sometime in the distant future. It takes a while to work with the federal government. We're also fully in year-end closings on financials, and the auditors are starting their pieces of that. And finally, I'd mention, just so you know, I'm out of town Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. I'm attending the Municipal Research Symposium on stormwater flooding and best practices issues and legislative policy committee meetings for municipal legislation. The chief will be my designated acting person in my absence for those 3 days, but I'll be reachable the whole time. And any other questions you may have, I'd be happy to answer.
Jimmy, I've got a question on the FEMA money. Do we have to amend the budget to account for that money coming in so late? Or is that just going to?
No, it actually will be posted to FY18 because that's when we
Okay.
received it. And the way that would show up in the document is you would have the miscellaneous revenue line item under revenues would be way higher than what we budgeted because
Okay.
it's almost a windfall of FEMA money.
Very good.
And then as we do budget amendments later in the year, you can offset that however we
Very good,
decide
thank you.
down the road.
You know the drill.
About the paving where Old Ocean and meets Corinne, where there's, it comes up from Anna and it's one way, and it used to be on the asphalt, do not enter, painted on the asphalt. That hasn't showed up yet. Is it going to show up?
Two-part answer, yes. The striping and signage, the finishing
Okay.
issues of paving will be done in the next few weeks, or there's a cure time there, as well as today we marked off traffic calming tables on Beachway that will be installed in about 2 weeks from now. As far as the do not enter sign that was printed on the road, that was not a town-installed sign. So we will revisit.
Well, can we get it installed in flashing red lights so that people don't go down there?
Anything
Chief,
else?
can we have it in flashing red lights? I'm not sure.
There was a stop bar, and I'll speak to the paving crew and see how much additional it would cost to have that perhaps lettered out, because I think it did serve a good purpose.
It was very effective, so we may be able to incorporate that into the stop bar.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Jamie?
Just one last comment for you all. I did receive a late email right before I came into this meeting from the City of Boynton Beach that they will be reporting their findings to their commission tomorrow night on the alleged dogs on the beach issue, and our attorneys met with their attorneys and came to the conclusion that both sets of towns had ordinance difficulties to even get there before they got into all the other issues, and I believe they're going to report that it's not something they can move forward on at this time.
Okay.
But if anybody cared to attend that meeting or follow it, it is scheduled for tomorrow night over there.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jamie. All right. Brian? No report. Any questions for Brian? None? Chief?
Monthly report for October is included in your package. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. In addition, I placed on a chair back there some upcoming events for 2018, the first quarter. Beach cleanup, January, in association with the Garden Club. A town hall meeting for a policing perspective on what's going on in town in February, and another coffee with a cop in March. I'd like to invite everybody that enjoyed their time on Friday night to come to all those events and enjoy those too, please.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Hal? All right, let's move on to our action items. First one is the air conditioner upgrades. Jamie, you want to take the lead on that?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. We have been historically, just a brief background, this town hall, which was built in 2008, has originally had a total of 14 HVAC air conditioning units that run all the zones in this town. We are, as you all know, in a highly caustic marine environment where these things deteriorate very rapidly. I have typically, in my 2+ years here and prior to my arrival as well, have budgeted approximately $7,000 a year to replace a unit year by year, one at a time. We looked at the situation because we have units that are failing or need extensive maintenance repair faster than a one-by-one unit scenario per year. This current past fiscal year, FY17, you did a budget amendment and we actually replaced 2 of the units at once to try to accelerate that process. So talking with our regular HVAC maintenance vendors, our public works, administration, our attorney, everyone else, we solicited quotes to look at what it would take to just bring the remaining units of this building up to current standards and energy efficiencies, which would include 6 unit replacements, and then the entire building would be up to speed both technologically and efficiency-wise. The best quote out of the 3 firms that we solicited came in at $24,801.20. And that would cover the installation of all 6 units versus the budget amount that we typically expend between $6,000 and $7,000 per unit per year. And so we are recommending that the town consider going ahead and approving getting all these units upgraded at this time at once, and the difference between the 24.8 and the 7,000 already budgeted, which is roughly $16,000, $17,000 would come out of contingency, and the original budget amount would come out of the budget line item where it currently exists. So the recommendation is to utilize our current HVAC vendor, which gave us the best competitive quote, and go ahead and move forward on bringing all the HVAC systems up to speed in the town. Just to note, there are some areas, for example, our jail cells, which have been un-air conditioned for a while because of failures in these systems, and we'd like to fix that situation.
I don't even
want to launch into the politics of that, but I did cut them down to bread and water in the budget, but I think AC is a humane thing we need to consider there.
Can we replace the rack that we have there now, too?
All right,
We have
so
the
is there a
latest
motion?
stainless steel appliances and brushed, polished counters and
All right, I move that we upgrade our HVAC system, and as per the contract submitted by DL Folsom in the agenda item number 9, and spend the funds from the contingency fund in an amount not to exceed $24,801.20.
Second.
Motion is second, any other discussion?
Yeah, I just went through an air conditioner replacement, so it would be worth asking this Folsom company. There's brand-new technology, and don't ask me what it's called, but it's a silicone-based technology, Jeff might be aware of this, that they can actually insert into the air conditioner. My air conditioners last 18 to 20 years because they have that in the actual unit, which somehow or other attracts the salt to that instead of to the air conditioner. And on the maintenance, there's marine sprays that Folsom should be aware of, which they will charge
yes,
$20 to $40.
it's like an aftermarket.
Yeah.
The spray on
They
the
work
outside.
fabulously. They'll extend the life of your air conditioner by 50%.
We can certainly ask them to add that to the quote, and we can probably cover that upmarket charge, if you will, from existing maintenance funds to cut down on the long-term maintenance dollars for that purpose, offset them, in other words.
All right, the other thing I want to ask him, what is the warranty on these units?
Yeah, 8 years seems a little short.
1 year labor, 1 year limited parts, 5 years
1 year-
limited compressor.
Let's just say.
1 year labor,
Question,
yeah.
lead another question.
1 year labor, 1 year labor, 1 year limited on parts, 5 years on the compressor.
Okay, that's the reason I asked you that was because if we're doing this a one-time shot for 24,000, it's only 1 year. My question would be to the air conditioning company, what will you do and how much would it cost, including the maintenance, to extend our warranty for a period of 3 to 5 years?
I don't have that number tonight, but I'll
But I'm
bring
saying
it back
look
to
into
you,
that before,
sure.
because if I'm looking at a $24,000 contract and the town's ready to sign it, and then if I can just get the extended warranty somehow and pay a certain amount that would save us a certain amount over 3 years, I think it'd be, you kind of got them, not over a barrel, but you've got them in a position that they may offer something even more, like the coating or something like that, and then a maintenance plan that would extend the warranty for 3 years so the town could basically have air conditioners last for the 3 years or not, but be covered under warranty for at least 3 years.
I'll bring back that information to you if that is your direction for the January meeting, and we can add it to this. If there's a threshold you want me to work it into this existing quote, I'll be happy to do that, or if you want me to bring that back as an add-on amenity to this quote and approve that separately.
Well, I would have it as to that quote,
Okay.
all right, so that they know that they're getting not only the air conditioning, all the air conditioners that we have now, but they're also having a maintenance as well, the maintenance plan as well. So they would be responsible for their warranty.
This particular quote is from the company that currently holds our maintenance contract with the town and does the maintenance. So they have that in place now, and that would be a sweetener and an incentive for them to keep it long-term.
Yep.
Are they just replacing one unit or a number of units?
This quote covers 6 complete units, and in some cases, we've combined 2 individual units into larger single units that have much higher efficiency because of the zoning of the building.
So, looking down the road a bit, then in 5 or 6 or 7 years, whenever the warranty is up, we may be looking at having to replace all of those units again instead of periodically over a number of years replacing one at a time?
Well, if I'm projecting the budget and the program for you, we would continue to build in the rotational factor over multiple years, but we would base it on the warranties and the lifespan as these are described, and then try to rotate them out accordingly. We do have several units that are already upgraded in the last few years that are in, and those would be the first ones that come up in rotation the next time around. So instead of doing them one at a time down the road a few years, you'd probably be budgeting and contracting to do them 2 or 3 at a time to meet this rotational schedule. Especially if they have the coatings and the added warranties and maintenance.
Those are good points.
All right, so you want to bring that back to us next meeting?
That's your call. If you'd like to defer approving the contract till we have those numbers added into it, we can do that.
Well, it's not imperative we have the air conditioners working now, correct, except for the ones in the jail.
Except for the ones that are.
I mean, I don't
It's
think
cooled
that's,
off
you
a
know,
little bit, so they're not going to cook.
I mean, Chief, we don't have that many jail.
We should be okay for 30 more days. I think we're fine.
Come on, Bob.
So,
Yeah.
Pertinent to this discussion, I had a place, of course, on the beach. Wind air conditioners lasted a year. You're talking maintenance. I want you to know that air conditioner companies exclude rust and corrosion. So if all you get is a guarantee to do maintenance, and it doesn't include rust and corrosion, you're not really getting much.
It's a good point,
Very
Bob.
good.
Thank you.
Point, yeah.
There you go, Jamie.
But
Got it.
those
And
marine
those coatings.
sprays, which are very expensive, it's $40 for a bottle,
All right, so
work.
we'll just bring it back next month and see
Yeah.
what you,
So we'll-
see what you can work out with them.
Bring back the revised quote with
So
those added.
Deferring my
protection.
motion till next meeting?
Yeah.
So I'll defer the motion next meeting or
Hold
withdraw?
on, Tracy?
Jim, you need to withdraw your
withdraw.
motion and then do a motion to continue to the next meeting.
I'm going to withdraw the motion I just made and move to continue the air conditioning issue till the January meeting.
And your second?
Second.
No, I said, and your second, you're going to withdraw your second? Wasn't there a second?
Gail.
Yeah, there
I
was.
think
Gail?
I did.
Oh,
Yeah,
Gail
I
did.
withdraw my second.
Okay. I don't know why I thought it was you. All right, let's move on to the gas pump replacement.
Well,
We need a vote.
Oh, yeah, you
We
need
need
to
a
vote.
second and a
signify.
vote on the motion.
On the motion to
The
pull
motion to defer to January.
Motion
the
to defer
motion
the
to
motion
continue
or
it.
withdraw the motion?
no, to continue.
Continue it
this
to January.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried and continued. Okay. Gas pump replacement.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
As you know, we have a gas pump station for police and public works in the back of our garage complex back here that's been in from the time of the building, if not longer. And we have deployed all kinds of maintenance and technical services towards that pump to try to resolve issues of the mechanics of that pump that essentially, in a nutshell, does not pump gas when it's very hot outside because of vapor locks and other things. It has been recommended to us by all the people that have worked on it or looked at it that we consider changing out to a different type of equipment that will be trouble-free. So we solicited quotes for a new pump that uses a different technology, and we put before you tonight, you have those bids in the backup package. The prevailing best price bid was from a vendor called Great Dane Petroleum Contractors at the amount of $11,900 to completely replace the gas pump that's on the back of the town hall complex here. And that's what we're recommending that we expend and move forward on. And I think if you need further information, the chief could expand on that. But when it doesn't work, it forces us to go to commercial gas stations nearby, drive out of the area, pay higher rates, and expend our gas budget dollars faster during hot afternoons and typical Florida weather.
You gotta love it. We have a gas pump that doesn't work when it's hot out. in Florida.
The gas pump has gas.
I tried at 12 o'clock on Saturday, 1 o'clock on Sunday, and got gas this morning at 8 o'clock when I got it.
So what's with the gas? So is this one gonna work when it's hot out?
The consensus amongst petroleum companies that deal in gas pumps is the style of gas pump that we have is a draw pump, not a push pump. And the chemical makeup of the gas that we get with the added ethanol in it, as it's changed over the years, is what's causing the vapor lock on the system when it gets hot. It continues to get worse. We've had probably 20 different fixes put in over the course of the last 5 or 6 years that don't work. The recommendation amongst all of them is we need a different style of pump. That's why we're here today.
And it should save us some money because Palmdale is a lot less expensive than Texaco, is it?
So we use the state bid price vendor for fuel. So we get what the state would pay under contract for fuel, and we get a reduction in quite a few of the taxes that we would have to pay when we buy commercially. That's how we save our money. When you look at the bill, it doesn't look that different, but the taxing issue is where we get it. In addition, it pays to have fuel available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a police department, especially in the event of an emergency such as Hurricane Irma or Hurricane Matthew, where we would have had difficulty getting fuel commercially. And we run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's inconvenient at best during an emergency to try and stock enough fuel for our vehicles and provide the town services. I think this is the best.
How old did you say that thing was, that existing one?
My understanding is it's 9 years old.
9 years old? All right, is there a motion on the floor?
I wanted to ask the chief, did you talk to Boca Country Club? I mean, that Delta Petroleum and Industries, Inc., they talked about putting a filter, and you said that you've tried various things over a period of time to try and cool the fuel so it doesn't vapor lock. And he referenced that Boca Country Club where he's installed that. Did you check that out?
No, I did not. With all due respect to Delta Petroleum, we got rid of Delta Petroleum as our pump repair person because unfortunately they provided little, if any, relief whatsoever. Whereas when we called in other companies, they were able to give us some definitive answers. Delta Petroleum's response to our problem over the course of the years has been to put us off and to tell us that it's not their problem. We did find a problem with their installation because they are the ones that put it in. Corrected that. We found some other issues as we went forward with their installation. Corrected those. I don't know if this means anything to anybody on the dais or in the audience, but we've replaced foot valves and head valves and vent systems and all kinds of things and tried to cool systems, redone inside of pumps with Delta and Great Dane. And it doesn't seem to work for our system for whatever reason.
Fine. Sounds like you've already been down that path, and that's all I wanted to know.
We've asked a lot of commercial gas stations what style pumps they're using and what type of gasoline they're using to verify that we're not getting the, gee, you just need to replace your pump and everything will be good. And everybody said the same thing, that they've switched over from the style pump we have to the in-ground push system because that's what works in Florida in our climate with the chemical makeup, the fuels we're getting now. So I'm comfortable that this is the best solution and that everything else is a Band-Aid, which we've tried a lot.
Well, with that, I'll make a motion.
Sure. Please.
I move that the commission approve Great Dane Petroleum's bid not to exceed $11,900 plus permits to replace the gas pump used for Ocean Ridge Police Department and the Maintenance Department.
Second.
Motion and second, more discussion?
Yes. As you pointed out on the last one, there were limited warranties and guarantees in all of the contracts. I see nothing in any of these proposals, some sort of limited warranty or guarantee on any of the contracts. So can you look
Jamie?
into, if there's some sort of warranty or guarantee?
We presume the equipment comes with the manufacturer's warranty standard, and then we would continue to budget for regular maintenance as prescribed by the manufacturer. I do not know the exact term of that warranty off the top of my head, but I can provide that for you.
But there's nothing in any of the proposals that says anything about a warranty or guarantee or manufacturer's warranty or guarantee, so, I mean, I'd at least like to have that information. And I know Great Dane is 11.9, and the next highest one, I think, was 18.5, but,
And that's a Delta Patrol.
yeah. But I would like to know if there's any, I mean, if any of these things come with a warranty or guarantee, and if so, how long and what type it is. I mean, at least with the AC, each one of them had some sort of, warranty, and I think 3 out of the 4 were pretty standard, 1 year, and 5 years.
I will have the maintenance supervisor contact the folks that he got the bids from and give you the information on warranties available on their systems and their labor and installation in the January meeting, if that's your direction.
All right, so since we're getting into the cooler weather, the pump should work for a little while, for next meeting.
We've been dealing with this issue for quite some time. I'm sure we can deal with it for
Air
another 30
conditioning.
days.
You get all those air conditioners coming in. I'm kidding. You don't want the
Maybe we can
troubles
add
with
a-
these?
So-
Air conditioned pump.
All right, so we get this straight on this, we're going to you're going to continue your motion until the next meeting?
Withdraw
And
current.
we have
Withdraw.
to defer to
Continue.
January.
This is 1 step forward and 2 steps
Yeah.
back, okay, so far, okay. Based on the information that we need, warranty or guarantee information, I withdraw my motion until the next meeting, and place it before the commission again.
And then withdraw.
Withdraw my second.
Okay.
All those in
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Okay.
We're 0 for 2 on the
0 for 2.
house cleaning here. All right, so number 11, contact with Higgins Engineering, Inc. for Inlet K Island Engineering Drainage Study. Jimmy, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, as you recall from earlier meetings, we did an RFQ to look for a qualified firm to study the conditions and recommendations for situations that are found on Inlet K Island. We commenced information to get more specifics on the Inlet K Island Engineering Drainage Study. Mr. Bob Higgins, professional engineer who was the bidding company under the RFQ, who has spoken to you before and is here this evening, provided a menu of scope of work options and the estimated cost for each of those. You have that in front of you. That was passed out to you this evening. We need some direction this evening as to moving forward on this study and contract. If you take the menu in front of you and add up the individual scope of work performance line items that are in there, the estimated cost to execute this study as it stands today adds up to $22,400. Most of the individual line items that are on here are pretty much codependent on each other in terms of what we need to include to get there. And Mr. Higgins here is able to answer a question or confirm to you if there's any specifics or information on deliverables or what we might hope to gain at the end of this.
I'm going to ask Tracy to put this up on the,
Oh, do you have that to put up on the screen for us? Okay, that'd be great.
sorry, I didn't mean.
Thank you.
If you don't.
Can you see the whole thing or not? So it's, just to re-clarify, the scope of services is broken down into functions to get to the end of a study that would then set the town up to make decisions long-range about what best practices, what infrastructure, what mitigative strategies the town might consider in the future. Clearly, those recommendations from a professional engineering standpoint will create everything from enhanced maintenance and care of the existing system to possibly very large ticket infrastructure options. So Mr. Higgins will need a little bit of direction from us as to how far we want him to take this at this point in time, moving forward on a study.
Sure. Mayor, Commissioners, this is the menu type approach that you asked for at the last meeting, and I'll take input from you tonight and then expand on it and come up with a much more detailed scope of services on those items that you've selected. Like Jamie said, several items are linked at the hip and they can't be removed, but there is some items in there that can be removed without affecting the overall study approach. And it's primarily drainage. But I do have in here, for instance, a soil boring analysis, because I know the town has been questioning, is that particular island sinking? Well, the way that organic soils work is there is a finite limit on how much that can be compressed. It could be other factors like fill being brought in when you build a house can cause settlement, and it's new settlement as opposed to old. The only way to define that is to look at borings, and they're deep borings. Another item is a water table analysis for the landlocked lots. I guess there's a lot of rumors saying that it's all been built on a spring. And the purpose of that analysis is to basically define whether or not there is an unknown artesian condition that's only exacerbating the drainage problems in the area because there's continual water flowing out into the streets. But looking at item 5, it's basically to focus in on developing some conceptual alternatives on what the town can do to improve drainage, to then further analyze up to two selected by the town commission for further analysis and costing. So with that said, I also want to point out that it's good that you have retained Televax, which just recently prepared a report, which is going to be very, very useful for me to look at what is the existing system, the condition of it. Is it in poor shape, good shape, or other? And that will affect what one of my items is. I think one of the commissioners asked, define what the existing level of flood protection is. And so without knowing what kind of shape the drainage system's in, I can't define what kind of flood protection is provided in individual areas throughout that island.
Okay. Brian, you want to give us your opinion, please?
Well, we just got the item that you see on the screen up there about mid-morning, and so when I got that, I did have a conversation with Jamie, and was just kind of relaying, some of my thoughts or concerns on it, where we may want to have a little bit more specificity in this in order to make sure that, and with not doubting Mr. Higgins' word, and I've also had the same conversation with him, so that way when we pay him, we know exactly, okay, here's what you delivered, and we can see that, and then there you go, here's the payment. So that would be my thought, because my concern is that if we go with what's presented in front of us without a little bit more specificity on this is what I'm going to be doing, it may be difficult if we have a, crossing of the paths later on where we claim he did not provide certain things, that it may be difficult for us to actually show that he didn't do something he was actually intended to do, because this is very general in nature.
This is chronological, right?
Somewhat, yeah.
Does that change it? In other words, from the last meeting that Mr. Higgins was present at, we had like a laundry list, and we said we'd have a menu, and we say, do this, do this. So, given that this is in chronological order, couldn't we say, let's do the first 2 points, which are kind of specific? He's reviewing reports that exist, and he's doing a field survey.
No, if you want to, and maybe that's something that, that we could say, that you could provide to Mr. Higgins, that we will enter into the agreement, provide the first 2 points at the price, at the cost listed, and that therefore, and as well as the other points on the prices that, that have been provided, because I think, Mr. Higgins, you had agreed that, you'll add more specificity, but the price will remain the same. And so therefore, since we've locked that in, then we could come back in January with more specificity if the commission so desires. I mean, those were just my concerns and thoughts. It's not so much a legal issue, it's just in doing this for a long period of time, you kind of see where some of the issues come up. And I would just like to, once again, with no disrespect to Mr. Higgins, just, try to head off any I guess, disagreements that we may have down the road where we were looking for one thing, but we get something else. And that's that's the only reason I brought that up.
I have no problems with expanding on any of the items into a more detailed scope and deliverable.
Jim?
Well, I am, because if we go the path that Steve wants to go, let's say we do point number 1 and point number 2, nothing in point number 1 or point number 2 says we get a report. So we're not going to know the result of his review of the existing drainage system and his analysis.
That's a good point.
So I don't know, and I just don't know what good it does us to do step by step if we're not getting a report at the end of each step. And then, I'm not an engineer, but it seems to me, how can you give a report of what exists if you don't go, for example, for 3 and 4 and says, this is what exists and here's the problem, unless you do this soil boring and water table analysis. So I mean, am I making myself clear? You understand?
Yeah, I follow what you're saying. A brief summary report can be added to each one of those.
Okay.
Each one of those, let's say it's a page or 2, could be used to prepare the final report, which is way down in item 7.
And I frankly, I just don't see how we can do anything until we at least get through 5, which is develop alternatives, because that's ultimately the goal of this whole thing. Figure out what the problem is and develop alternatives to address the problem. So I'm not sure if the step-by-step does us a whole lot of good, and at least until we get to 5.
The reason why I'm a fan of numbers 1 and 2, and there's a lot of people from Inlet K here, is that I believe this afternoon, Jamie, you told me that, Televac swept through the pipe and actually found a blockage in one of the drains.
That's on 13.
That's item 13.
We have a full item on that, and yes, we have a full report from that company, but
I'm just thinking, we have an expert sitting here in front of us who, the residents have asked for an outside engineer to take a look at this situation. Numbers 1 and 2 are taking a look at the situation. If we have to add the word report at the conclusion of 1 and 2, I'd be all for that.
But my point is, what good is his review and a report of the existing information, existing system, without going farther to get a recommendation as to
Because
what
we
needs
now
to
have
get
an
done?
outside engineer telling us whether the existing system is functioning as it's supposed to, and if it is functioning as it's supposed to, if it can handle the drainage.
I'm not sure that's where we get to at the end of point 2.
Well, I had a question for you.
I envisioned item 5 to be that step.
Yeah.
Intermediate, with a report to the council or commission.
That's kind of how I read
Yeah.
this outline here.
What is your schedule?
A schedule.
So if you, what is your schedule? if we tonight said, go ahead with this and move on, what is your predicted schedule? Is it December, is it January, is it February?
It's
And
prob-
when the starting schedules, I guess I'm getting to.
Yeah, it's probably going to take 3 to 4 months.
Right, so if you're going to start, if you were going to start, would you be starting in January after the holidays to begin it? And it would take you 3 months to complete this complete study, would it not?
Yes,
So to bring back something a little more specific isn't really holding anything up.
not really.
Okay, so you see my point? So if it comes back in January with a little more specificity, which is tongue twister by itself, you bring that back in January, we're not holding up anything to getting the project started, is what I'm getting at.
Correct.
So if we come back in January, it's more specific, we approve it, because I don't see really anything wrong with the pricing you have here. It's just, it does need to be just a little more specific to make sure we're getting the most bang for our buck. And then we get that going, and then you can start after that. So if you can tentatively put us on your schedule for the month of January, we're
Will do.
kind of tacitly telling you that it looks like it's going to be approved.
I don't think we're going to really start getting any information as to what our problem is until we complete, or Mr. Higgins completes the item number 2, and certainly number 3. That seems to be a major part of the problem over there as it looks now, notwithstanding that the new system the new contractor just came through and did something that the older contractor should have done years ago and did not. And so now we have Telvac coming in, and they've done a pretty good job of cleaning it out. So it's a good time for Mr. Higgins to start because the system has been cleaned out. They've got the tiles out of the system and so on and so forth. So you can have a better job of looking at the capacity of the system and that it's flowing correctly or not, and has the ability to carry the water. So, we've been putting these people off for quite a while. I'd like him to get started the sooner the better and come back with us in January and give us a report where he is.
Well, he's not going to, he just said he's
He's
not
not
starting
starting
until
I
January.
think there might have been a misunderstanding. You weren't saying that you're going to start in 3 months. You were saying that the project would take you 3 months. Is that correct?
Yeah, 3 to 4 months is what
How, though he did say that he wouldn't be starting until January. He wouldn't even start the project till January.
I can start this month.
You can start this month?
Yes,
Sure.
There's a misunderstanding.
Yeah, he's talking about obtaining the plans and so on and so forth, so we can certainly get those and get going on that.
And the other thing is, if you notice Article 7, termination, if at the end of point number 1, point number 2, no disrespect, we're not satisfied, we cancel.
Well, he might come back with number 2 and say, you got a problem right here, I don't need to go any further.
Right.
So I think it would be a good idea for him to come in and give us an update each month after he starts.
But I will say, they said at the last meeting, the first blush review of the system, it's got very limited capacity. If you were to try and build a subdivision like that today, using current standards, it'd be much different.
And Mr. Higgins has been here during high tides and flooded and driven the streets, so he's somewhat familiar with that area.
Yes.
All right, well, most of the number 1, 2, and 3 are paperwork. So if that's what that's the pleasure of the commission,
Yeah.
then
I'd say
let's
start.
somebody make a motion and let's get started.
What are we actually making a motion on, starting
Well,
the
if you want,
Well-
I would make a motion, I would say, all right, authorizing
Authorize-
Higgins Engineering to complete items 1, 2, and 3 as soon as possible, and that would be the
And report
first
back.
part of the contract.
Okay, make a motion to Higgins Engineering.
What about that, Brian?
Well, I mean, I think you're making a motion to go ahead and enter into the agreement with Mr. Higgins. And if I would, you may want to say to go ahead and commence. Now, Mr. Higgins, what is the time frame? Because I think we need that in the agreement. What is the time frame for you to complete the work? Because I would like to go ahead and get that in the agreement that we're going to execute.
Sure. I've been saying it's going to take a total of 3 to 4 months. So I would use a 4-month figure. You'd probably want a 3-month figure.
What about points just 1, 2, and 3?
Oh, 1, 2, and 3? That's doable probably in a month.
See,
Thank you.
the one thing you have when you read this, the more specific part of it has to be number 4, 5, and 6. Has to be more specific, because number 1, 2, and 3 is information that's already been compiled, and he's just going over that information. Right, so that's why something has to be more specific in an agreement following 4, 5, and 6.
But all we're authorizing is 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, but three also says it may require
See where I'm going, Brian?
a new firm to
No,
do
okay.
new boring.
Yeah, but see, that's, I'm
We'll
just
strike
telling you, them 1, 2, and 3 are paperwork. Anyway, go ahead, Brian.
If the commission wants to, I think what you can do, I'll put in the agreement, if this agreement is executed tomorrow or the next day, it'll be 120 days from that date. So essentially, it'll be 3 months from January is where we'll end up. However, what we can do is we can go ahead and enter into this agreement conditioned upon Mr. Higgins providing revised comment or revised direction, or I guess your revised services for 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that can be presented to the commission at the next meeting. Now, you've already approved this, so when that comes up in front of you at the next meeting, if the commission is not okay with that, we can always terminate the agreement. So that would be my suggestion, is that we go forward with that, and we'll approve the agreement, subject to Mr. Higgins providing the revisions to paragraphs 4, 5, 6, and 7, which will then become part of this agreement at that point in time. Once the commission looks at it in January and agrees to those conditions, we can do it in the form of amendment. I guess I'm just trying to forego that step and say, look, if you all look at it and if the consensus then looks okay, it'll formally be a part of this agreement. So if that's agreeable to the commission, you can approve it now, we can proceed forward, and that's the way we'll do it. But we will need those revisions to 4, 5, 6, and 7 as soon as possible.
Sure.
Is that agreeable to you, Mr. Higgins?
Yes.
And he's going to give us a mini report, I guess, in connection with 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, I can.
Hopefully in January.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Jamie?
Now,
Just one caveat, you probably want to add a approval process to outside corings. If Mr.
Item number
Higgins recommends and wants to deploy a company to do items that are listed under number 3, soil borings, that should go through town purchasing and protocols.
Well, it'll have to come back to us for
It has to come
approval.
back to
It
that.
has to come back to you unless,
Less under
it-
10,000.
because that could very easily exceed thresholds if the more extensive it got.
You may not want to, I don't know if you really can address that now. I think that'll be something that if Mr. Higgins comes back and says, look, I'm stuck at this point, and hopefully what I'm envisioning, Mr. Higgins, is that by the January meeting, when you come back and when the commission looks at those other comments, hopefully at that point in time, you may have direction then if you need further boring, so that way the commission can approve it at that meeting. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
okay. And there is another caveat that I didn't put in here. I'm assuming sufficient survey information is available through Ingenuity. And as far as I know, there is, based on what I've seen so far. But that would be another item that would be additional that it would bring back January.
Okay, that's going to have to be something, if it is, we'll have to address it then.
I believe we have
I
to do
think we do.
substantial surveying, engineering on that.
Yes.
Okay,
so-
so
I
aggregate
don't know
that.
what the motion is.
Let's make a
Here, let me-
motion. please.
So the motion is to approve the agreement based on, with a 120-day term in the agreement, and it's also further based on the fact that Mr. Higgins will provide at the January meeting an update on items 1, 2, and 3 in writing to the commission and appear at the commission meeting, and items 4, 5, 6, and 7, that he will enhance the scope of work to make it more specific to the items that he will be performing. And if the commission approves, or if the commission is okay with that, then that'll be part of the agreement. That's the
Can I make a
motion.
motion based upon what you just said?
That can be the motion.
Very good.
Okay.
Yes. So
Get
moved.
that, Teresa.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Higgins.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, number 12 up. Go ahead, number 12. was going to say, you know what, Jamie, just switch 13 and 12 around so we can continue on the same vein of the,
Okay, sure. I'm fine
please.
with that if
You
you're
guys have
fine
any
with that.
problem with that?
So we're going to jump forward to number 13. I have Dennis here from Televac South. Brief background here. For years and years, the town has been working with a company called Rockline Vacuuming, Inc., which is based out of Broward County. Just a couple months ago, we got a call from Rockline. They have gone out of business and therefore no longer are available for the kinds of services that the town has deployed for telecammering, vacuuming, cleaning, repairs, et cetera, to the drain systems in the town. So we went about finding a way to get to the same capacity or better and technologies. We got recommendations for various companies and found Televac and found a contract that is currently in place in Lauderdale by the Sea, where Televac South holds the contract for not only their full sewer system, but their full storm drain system. It's a very similarly situated geography, as it's a barrier island community on the ocean and has a lot of the same issues, and they come highly recommended. Utilizing the piggyback vetted public contract that is out there for those services, we engaged Televac South to put a proposal for us, and the attorney vetted the contract so that we could consider piggybacking on that. Because of all the issues that happened on Inlet K from Hurricane Irma and Tropical Storm Philippe and all the associated issues we've been having over time, I deployed Televac under our maintenance agreements and current situation to come out and do a really thorough assessment of Inlet K from pipe to pipe, French drain catch box to box, and not only clean and scope everything, but televise it. And I just want to show and tell, they produced an amazing report that has all the maps, all the structures in it, all the metrics, the identified anomalies. It's all digital, it's all in print. We have videos, we have pictures, we have all the specifications, and for the first time, to my knowledge, the town now has a technical manual of the state of our drain system on Inlet K. Not only will that help us set the base data for moving forward on drain systems, improvements, maintenance, and ongoing infrastructure, but it will also provide very valuable data for Mr. Higgins' work and anybody else, and for town administration, so we can budget and prioritize the fixes, the repairs, and the upgrades as we move forward. One last note, and I'll turn it over to Dennis to answer your questions from Televac. We, as a result of this study and their work, we have determined there are 17,760 linear feet of subterranean pipes in the ground in the town of Ocean Ridge for the storm drain system, and there's 226 French drains and catch boxes cumulatively across the town. If we were to choose to fix them and clean them all at once, it'd be a really big number. But what we would propose that we do under this contract is aggressively ramp up the maintenance and assessment system of our storm drains and rotate through that, much like we do on our paving program, based on the direction from this commission and appropriations along the way. With that, I'll be quiet and turn it over to Dennis of Televac South.
So what'd you find in the, Inlet K?
A lot of interesting things.
Did you?
Yeah. We found, I was surprised at how much dirt was in a lot of the structures and the pipes. Some of the outfall pipes going to the canals actually had half a pipe of sand in it, and, a 15-inch pipe.
That's a lot of sand.
That's blocking a lot of, water that could be going out. But we were able to get those pipes over there clean. What we did was about a third of that area, correct?
Maybe almost half the island.
Maybe half of the island. And we found some structure leaks which is allowing infiltration into the storm drain basins. We found some plaster blockages in some of the pipes, which is normally from somebody doing tile work or cement work on the property. We've got an area left where we still have to try to remove a piece of this plaster out of a 90 bend, which is actually currently blocking that flow. And we found some joint leaks. We found a couple pipes with holes in it, where it looks like somebody might have got into it with a backhoe at one time and just kept on moving along, So we definitely have some repairs to come back on. But a lot of good information was gathered. We created spreadsheets for Lisa, I believe, the engineer, town engineer.
Correct.
Yeah, some nice spreadsheets for her to kind of simplify, our findings and make it, more acceptable and easy to, communicate with. And we'll also do that for Bob, We can give him some information as we move along on this maintenance contract.
Did you identify all the ones that have the valves on them as well?
We were we were directed by Lisa and the city manager which ones to do, which seemed to be some problem areas for y'all. And yes, we cleaned them and we went up and saw the flapper valves. Along the line, one day I think we ought to go a step further and actually investigate the valves, from the water side and make sure that they're opening properly.
If I can just jump in there for clarification, all the valves on Inlet K were cleaned and maintained by Barnacle Busters just in the last 2 months. We brought in Televac behind them to really look at the parts of the system that you can't see from either end. So not only did they clean and maintain and send brushes through and all the things that they do in the vacuums, but they also cameraed the majority of the island structures that we focused them on. And we chose as Dennis had said, the worst areas where we've been having the most problems to focus on and try to identify why aren't those structures working better than they should be. They even found French drain boxes that were underneath people's driveways that were built over them. So there's a common theme going on where when you're finding construction materials, driveways over boxes, crushed pipes under property lines where new houses have been built recently, et cetera, we've got issues that we don't even see until they present a problem. And this extensive report and database has chronicled all that and identified that. And over time, we hope to have this base data for the entire town so that we can prioritize the rotational maintenance system to really make it trouble-free to the extent that it can be before we get into the capacity issues that Mr. Higgins is going to be working on.
Okay.
Yeah, as I understood it, when I had met with staff on this issue, you found instances of essentially debris and breakage of the pipes recently by construction, maybe a large truck, cement truck or something driving over the pipes.
Yes.
So while we're on the subject, what I would like to see, since we have a current survey of what exists, we send to planning and zoning for them to study and come back with recommendations on how to allocate liability to either the homeowner or the contractor in the permitting process, so that, because it's unfair for the town to have to incur the cost of cleaning out these drains that is caused by a contractor or subcontractor who's either building a new house or redoing an old house. So that's one of the things that I would like to see Senate Planning and Zoning, especially now since we have a complete survey of what the pipes exist. We have a baseline to look at. Maybe they can come up with an ordinance for, when people pull permits and transferring liability from you know, from the town to either the contractor or the homeowner, when they pull that permit, it's their responsibility if the drainage system, you know, is broken or damaged or something clogs it up as a result of their construction.
That sounds like a good idea.
And
And
we
we
only
only have it mapped out right now just for,
Well, no, not only do we map it out on Inlet K, we actually performed all the maintenance functions in the area that we assigned them as well.
we haven't mapped out the whole.
Oh, yeah, we
Dennis
have-
hasn't done the whole of town yet, right?
Yeah,
No.
they haven't
We'll
explored
get
the
to you
whole
guys.
town.
Did you make the repairs to, like, where you saw the breaks in the pipe?
No.
So you haven't
No.
done that part yet?
No, that would,
Yeah.
once we have Televac under contract,
Right,
we will start
okay.
deploying them for those repairs because the contract defines the rates and the scope of each of those functions to make those repairs.
So what exactly have you accomplished? Just the television camera through the pipes?
Cleaning,
You
televising.
did clean.
Yes.
Sand, loose debris is gone.
Right.
But any serious structural block or cement has not been removed?
Not been removed yet, no.
Any holes or any of that?
Yeah.
Have not been
By the way, how
addressed.
do you repair you said there's holes,
There's
let's say
an
in the-
aluminum pipe with a hole in it, puncture.
yeah,
We would put if it's infiltrating, we'd have to grout it first and put the chemical gel AV100 on into the soil to stop the infiltration. And then we pull a sectional liner up on it, which
so you
is,
can't do any of the work internally, it all has to come from above.
it's internally. No, all the
Internally.
work
Just
is
goes
done.
inside.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with sectional liners pulled in, with a carrier, which is an inflatable bag. You pull up to the defect with a fiberglass and epoxy solution. Or pull up on it,
We'll get to
inflate.
you, Mr. Fortuny.
In other words, you don't have to dig up everybody's lawn.
No, no,
It's like a
That's
stint.
no. Same with the structure leaks, we just drill through the structure and grout the soil on the outside of the catch basin structure, which stops the infiltration.
Gotcha.
Because we've got quite a few basins that were leaking that we ran across.
All right, so this contract is basically to,
This is to
Take on-
fast-track taking a specialty company and having them be our contract vendor for these kinds of services and repairs under a already vetted intergovernmental contract.
I thought originally when we started this, we were dealing with Inlet K twice a year on maintenance. And then when the idea was to change the maintenance schedule to decrease the hurricane and king tide problem, and to also increase the number of times per year.
My motive is to upgrade or aggressively maintain all the systems in the town more frequently. Historically, it's only been once or twice a year or on an as-need basis based on a particular problem. We've talked to the company and we've talked internally, and we'd like to do that on a rotational basis because it's cheaper to maintain and fix pipes and problems as they happen than wait until the whole system is in the condition that it has gotten to over many, many years.
But underneath this contract, like you wouldn't go to, I can't even think of a street, like there's what, let's say 10% of the streets in town have issues. The other 90%, you're not gonna go analyze.
We're going to maintain and clean and vacuum all of these systems in town on a rotational basis. We will only televise, explore and get into more specific technologies and fixes where there's evidence of a specific problem. In other words, we're not going to just do that on every pipe just for the sake of
That's
doing it, because many of the pipes are newer to begin with. The Inlet K pipe, that was the recent problem where the contractor basically walled off our outfall and knocked off the tidal flap. We wouldn't have needed to do any of that. We knew exactly what was wrong with the system as a contractor walled it up and took off, and we fixed it after the fact. So, that kind of repair would still be on a case-by-case basis. But we need a company that's in place that we can call. Just as an aside, these kinds of pieces of equipment, huge vacuum trucks, camera trucks, technologies that they deploy come with like minimums on the hourly rates, 4-hour minimums or this or that at pretty high rates of cost. So it's not like we're going to deploy them every time there's an individual problem. We need to aggregate those and move them through the system. And that's the purpose of having a contract vendor in place so that we can plan and deploy on the priority of fixing what needs to be done, based on the appropriations that we do in the budget each year by your direction.
All right. Thank you, Dan. We're going to take some public comment now. Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Ferrantura. See you waving back there. Now you got to come up. You got to come up to the podium.
Go to the podium.
Des, you can sit down.
Are there any elevation studies or statistics to compare the past to the present and going into the future? And any gradient analysis of drainage? Because when you have fluid draining, the length it's going to drain, the length that you have to cover versus the elevation is very important. So for future town planning, if you have any plans for the future of submerging any of the service facilities, it has to be taken into account. But right now, I know of no one I ever spoke to who knows what the elevations are on any of the things. Maybe there are some, but I've been around for 38, 39 years here, and nobody's ever been able to tell me that. But
Well-
that is the most important thing you've got to face here, because the water does not flow uphill, period.
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. Higgins, that's what his charge has been, that we've set him upon.
I didn't hear one word mentioned, though, of any comparison of elevation from the past to the present to see what's happened from what was installed to what's there now.
He said
There's
that
no-
he's doing the elevation survey. He wanted to make sure we had an elevation survey.
No, I can appreciate that, but what was it to begin with?
That's what he has defined that we have already on record.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. That's the analysis that
Yes, sir.
that I need to put forth, that's the comparison. But then, as I mentioned at one of the other meetings, how you get it from there to the intercoastal and how far that is in the gradient.
And
So
that-
anyway, just,
And that's going to be part of his evaluate, or
yeah,
his
well, I
summary
don't have a
report.
copy of what you have up there, so I don't know where that was supposed to come from. So I don't know how to analyze what you've been talking about, but
We'll get you one before you leave.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, sir. Tracy, you give him one real quick? Terry? Yep.
So if we know where there's a drain that has been blocked up because of a driveway being repaved over the top of it, we would report that to you? You said you did a survey and you found some of them, but you haven't done the whole town.
We haven't done the whole town yet. We just focused our initial efforts on Inlet K Island
Yeah.
because that's where we've been having the most acute issues.
Well,
And
I
the
know of
data-
one on our street that the town engineer
Please report it to us.
approved the driveway, and that all the homeowners want a nice, smooth driveway to the asphalt. They don't want to put in the swale. If you drive down Harbor Drive South, the only house that has a 6-inch swale in front of both driveways is at our house. Everybody else gets a waiver. They come up with these alternate draining things, and the water goes right onto the roadway. Now, it floods down at the end of Harbor Drive South, and there's a drain there that's been covered up by a driveway. The town engineer needs to not approve driveways without swales. It's in your code. And she's always waiving, I assume she's still your town engineer.
So-
She stamps it with her little stamp and approves the driveway. Now, this is wrong. I didn't get a waiver. I have it on my house. And you have them all over town where no one wants that swale in the driveway. And it's in your code.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Paul Pluffjohn. I live at 40 Bimini. And thank you for everything you're doing here. I wanted to just ask a question of, was there evidence that the pre-existing maintenance company had been doing maintenance, or if you couldn't determine that? I mean, was it being done to the same standard you were asking to do it under the previous vendor? Any idea?
I don't know the last time I was in here.
Yeah, that'd be hard to say, and plus, since they're out of business.
No, I agree, but my point is this, I was pleased tonight to hear that nobody's blaming this on king tides on Bimini Cove, because no one on Inlet K is denying that there are tides that would impact our community. But the tide tables don't change from one house to another. And to Mr. Bonfilio's comment, this area, there's no new homes in this area. I've lived there since 2013. All the existing homes are there. So there's been no new driveways put in, and this has been a problem that I've been talking to. And I first raised it with the town, not because of my own home, but because of neighbors who couldn't even get into their own driveway. And so there was, over time, a contractor that came in to clean them out, and I don't know what the process was to hire that contractor. Was it low bid or whatever? But who's been inspecting that and making sure it got done? You know, we hire a lot of third-party vendors in this town, people that help us out. I applaud your efforts to do that. But is there something else we could look at? Do we have the right, for all of our situations like that, do we have the right oversight going into that to make sure people are fulfilling their contracts and doing what they're supposed to do? Because these same drains have been overflowing for a long, long time. And again, I'm excluding when we had king tides, because that impacts the whole neighborhood. So I'm just sort of a question to us as to maybe there's something else we could look at. Are there other things we could look at in terms of how well we provide oversight? So, thank you. And thank you for continuing to address this. I really do appreciate the seriousness with which you all are approaching it, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Clara Caldwell, 48 Spanish River Drive. And I just wanted to add to Mr. Higgins and to Mr. Plofchen, the elbow pipe that they had discovered where there's a big block of cement is right beneath our driveway. That was not there when we first moved there. We didn't do any new construction, and it's been getting consistently worse. One of these things I really applaud Vice Mayor Bonfiglio, because he is saying, as it should be, that whoever is responsible for these blockages should end up paying for them. However, in our Inlet K, we have heavy trucks that go down all the way down Spanish River Drive to turn around, because they started in Inlet K and they go all the way around. These heavy trucks have literally torn up lawns. They have torn up driveways because they're heavy, and some of them go at a very quick pace. So it's pretty difficult to determine whether it is the builder, which builder, or whether it is somebody that is doing their own. For instance, if I were doing my own repairs in my home, or whether it was somebody else's home and their vendor is throwing cement down the drain. Excuse me. And the other thing that I want to bring to your attention is that this couldn't have happened very recently. It had to have accumulated over a period of time, because you don't get a cement ball that is like 8 inches that sticks in an elbow pipe from 1 or 2 occurrences. So I think Mr. Bonfiglio is really on target with saying, hey, we shouldn't really be paying for somebody else's errors. And at the same time, though, we should have a way of being able to track who is responsible without blaming, for instance, me or one of my neighbors who's here. His lawn is entirely torn up with a big, heavy truck. I mean, it's just really excessive. So if there's a pipe under there, the pipe would get crushed, and it isn't his fault. As a matter of fact, he's responsible for repairing the lawn. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Louise Stolitsky, 47 Spanish River Drive. I see that tonight we've had a group come out from Inlet K. I have to say, and I spoke with Commissioner Magruder before, something has to be done on some of the turns where somebody is doing some construction, or they're the gardeners or what have you, and somebody decides they're in a very big rush and they are driving over rocks. I think you should come in and take a look at some of the lawns where trucks have gone over. The island is a disgrace, and I think that there should be the police chief should look at the situation, and no parking signs should go up in certain areas, because it's very, not only is it dangerous, but it is also, it's just terrible. I mean, you have the water situation, everything there is wet, you drive over these lawns, and the street is filthy and dirty with mud. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, bring it back to commission.
I had a question.
Sure.
It's 185 per hour, 4-hour minimum, right? And then it says, and I can't understand this part, grout man holds 1,000 per gallon. What's that mean? You want- Where I put the lower out. Okay.
Yeah, most of the maintenance work will follow under,
Number one.
right. Prices per unit for cleaning and so on and so forth. Basins and the pipelines. This is additional work. This is Lauderdale by the Sea calling us out at 2 o'clock at night, oh, we have a broken pipe. Basically that's pretty much dealing with a sewer line, because we run out for their emergencies all the time. So it's a 4-hour minimum at 185 an hour. And then if we're gonna grout, a problem is $10 per gallon.
Oh, 10. I thought it said 1,000. That's what was told. I can't see the point. Can you?
Clean those glasses, Steve.
Good glasses.
I have another question on 6.10. It says that the contract will run at consecutive dates with Lauderdale by the Sea. It's going to extend for the same length of time. Do we know when the contract for?
Yes, sir. Currently, the Lauderdale by the Sea contract is extended through September 30th of 18, or September 29th of 18, the end of the municipal fiscal year, essentially. They will either re-up that with another extension letter, and consequently, we would do the same thing if we're happy and continue on, or piggyback onto a different pre-vetted contract if Lauderdale by the Sea did not wish to continue and we did. So it really depends on performance and how we feel at the end of the year's time that we're getting the service and the value that we're looking for under contract.
Okay, any other questions? Is there a motion on the floor?
I move that we approve the service contract between the Town of Ocean Ridge and Televac South, Inc., as set forth in agenda item number 13, December 4, 2017.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. All right, let's move back to number 12, website upgrade.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hold on a second, everybody from the Inland
give
Gaze
them a
leave.
Yes,
Moving out.
It only took 7 years.
Yes. We get there eventually.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
See you, Dennis. All right, Jamie.
Okay, thank you. At our August meeting, the regular town commission meeting, we talked about the necessity for upgrading the town's website, both from a software perspective as well as by default the branding that goes with that. And we reached out to multiple companies to get both to do webinars and interact, get some information on the different technologies and systems that are out there. And one of the things we came to the conclusion of, they're all pretty much the same. They just have different nuances in their offerings. So more importantly, we talked to various other municipalities and people in the industry that have worked with the various companies we contacted to find out user friendliness, tech support, how often did they get back to us, how thorough they were, the ease of use, and whether or not their software packages checked off all the boxes in terms of being ADA compliant, being platform independent, being easily editable by administrative staff in a WYSIWYG, kind of a Microsoft Word environment, if you will, and all the technicalities that go with that. We got lots of different proposals, some very thorough and some very timely, and others just sales calls as we went along. And I will note that there's a lot of industries in this business that do this kind of work. So it was really important to us that we clicked with the company, that we got positive feedback from other municipalities using these packages, and then that I had buy-in and positive reinforcement from staff that what they were seeing in our webinars and what they were seeing in other municipalities' websites done under the various companies that we explored, that they would be both easy to use and they were happy with the look and feel. After going through all that over several months, we brought back our top recommendation to you on a quote from a company called Revise, the government website experts, which is based in Troy, Michigan, and that backup package is in your backup here, and it just talks about all the people, the qualifications, and what they do. Essentially what happens, the bid is pretty much similar on all of these companies. This particular bid is $7,800 for the initial redesign and setup and all the software connected with launching a new town website, and then it's about $2,400 a year for the annual maintenance and licensing that goes with it in subsequent years. If we say go to the company, the next thing they would do is work with the town staff and everybody involved and create some design templates that we would bring back for the branding side of it. In other words, the design and layout of what a new town website would look like. Once we approve that particular phase, then they would go to work of actually, from a software perspective, building our new town website. The end result is, after approximately a 3 to 4 month period estimated, we would have a brand new, fully compliant website on the town that meets all ADA requirements, all software and technical advancements that are necessary to run this kind of software in today's digital environment, and hopefully have a branded look and feel and operational ability of our website that everybody would be proud of. It's the price tag on this project is under typical thresholds that I would just be able to sign off on, but because this is an important step and you asked it to come back before you, and we understand that the kind of traditional archaic look we have in our current website would be completely innovated forward and brought up to current look and feel. It's an important step to make sure everybody's on board with moving forward on that basis.
I had a question.
Sure.
When we started this adventure, it was because of internal software. So is this taking care of internal software and
external? Yes.
The visual of the town's website?
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
two separate policies. So it's not the town official website. We're talking, the thrust here is to get better software for you guys to use, and secondarily, the town website will be improved.
Will be
Is that
rebranded and
reasonable?
improved, correct.
Okay.
I kind of like the way the page looks, though. Can't we just keep it the way, revitalize all the?
In
just kind of-
theory, you
I
could
mean,
design it
looks
to
like a
look
small town's
exactly
website.
like
We need
the
to look at
current
a big
site.
city's website? Huh?
If it looks the same and works a little smoother, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, the design rebranding piece of it does not have to be radical or different to that degree. You could look and retain a lot of the look and feel of kind of the old-timey website that we currently have. The functionality and the compliance pieces of it would be totally brought up to current standards.
That's you guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
One of the things that they talk about in here is online payment portal. Are we thinking about doing that?
That'd be nice for your garbage and trash.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I don't know, we obviously need to get into that, but that's one of the areas that they cover. And again, it's, Jamie mentioned, it's ADA compliant, which right now we are not. Did you go out and look at any of the Dade sites or any of the other websites?
We looked at, how many sites, Tracy? I don't know, tons of sites. In fact, even some of our current vendors offer website improvement technologies and services. For example, MuniCode, which posts our town code online. They offer website design and software services on the side. We felt after we reviewed all the options that somebody that specializes in just providing the software that's needed to be compliant and focuses on bringing the website into compliance and modern branding in the sense of making it look and feel and work properly was our number one priority, combined with the tech support and the interaction and the feedback we got from others that used all these different systems. Some people, their sites look great, but quietly behind the scenes, the staff that update them curse them because they're so difficult and clunky to use behind the scenes, or there's all kinds of issues that come in there. And this particular company we're recommending seemed to check off all the boxes to get us there.
And what's the $2,400 a year?
That's licensing and hosting and carrying fees that are just ongoing maintenance. This company, you probably read in here, gives you every third or fourth year, they give you a free upgrade or a free redesign of your website in case you want to update the look and feel of it as you carry it along. However, the entire software package that is developed and presented and taken on by us is portable. So if we ever decide not to utilize this company, all that architecture, if you will, is portable to our servers or elsewhere as we deem necessary.
Okay.
So remember the last web company we had, one of our complaints was that they weren't providing the update patches. I'm assuming under the $2,400 a year, that's all update to the software is included in that number.
It is, and because most of the software side of this is cloud-based, all the technical updates that need to happen to patch for security, patch for bugs, fix glitches, et cetera, is constantly updated remotely and included in the licensing. It's not like we're buying a static package and then it ages out. It's constantly updated as long as you're maintaining the relationship with the company.
They're talking about phase 2, having a survey going out to the public. Is that part of your plan also? It says, collect feedback from the residents on the new design layout by setting up an online survey. That will be following their kind of steps?
We would, as much as possible, follow their recommended steps. We don't want to roll out a gee whiz beautiful website and have the public go, that's awful. We don't like that. It doesn't work. We absolutely will involve you in the final approval of the design and absolutely involve the public in test driving it a little bit in a beta format before we go live with an official new site.
What staff are you planning to have trained on this? That's like item number.
Somebody's going to say.
Have you given any thought to that?
Yeah, that's one of the wonderful things about taking this step is historically we have had one designated staff member with their own password and their own software who's essentially responsible for doing all the updates and doing all the editing and doing all the creation. And, they're a saint for doing all that. But I learned firsthand during the hurricanes, somebody else had to do that because when we were posting regular daily updates and information that had to go in there, I actually had to do that work, and I had worked on the kind of software we have today, so I knew how to do that. But the software we use today, which is DOS-based, Windows-based early software is not user-friendly, and most people, if they haven't been trained on it and they don't have any experience on it, it's trying to learn Chinese in one session. It's just not user-friendly or intuitive in any way.
Okay.
Everything that is here is WYSIWYG and would be like you using Word on your computer. It's all a window, it's password protected. Each employee in the town can have specific access to go into their particular area and update, for example, the chief. Even the chief can be trained easily to go in and update his section and not mess with the rest, and so on and so forth across the spectrum of employees. There's a lot of benefits to taking this step, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I move that we adopt the revised company proposal set forth in item number 12 in our December 4, 2017 agenda.
And Commissioner Bonfiglio, if you could add to that, I think, Jamie, we had talked about this. We probably will want to do an agreement, I guess a more formalized agreement with them rather than just the sales agreement that they have here.
I know the attorney wants to do that.
I mean, my
Absolutely.
suggestion would be that we.
Subject to a specific written contract.
Okay, thank you.
It's not this web sales agreement, right? At the
Yes.
very end of the package.
Yeah.
And it's only for 1 year?
Well, I'm not quite sure. No, I think it'll be for 5 years, but that's why we need to do a formalized agreement. It's my understanding that the $2,400 is a good number for 5 years. So, you know, we will count that with the 4th year being free, but I think we need to really set forth those terms in, you know, an agreement where.
So we could just make a motion to tell Jamie to move forward with it?
Subject to
Legal
say an
sufficiency.
agreement formulated by the town.
Thought I heard that.
Okay. So,
The haircut froze me up.
The motion has been made. Do we need a second?
second.
You had a second.
Second? Motion second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jamie. Very good. Right, resolution number 14, resolution number 2017-22. Jamie? Oh, Tracy rather. Sorry.
It's okay, by
Okay,
title.
this is a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, revising the building permit fee schedule. And as you can see in your backup material, you have a resolution in front of you, and you also have Exhibit A, which is the building permit fee schedule. The commission recently adopted the concept plan review ordinance, and because of that, we now have to adopt a fee for that process. And our recommendation after staff meetings and calculating the costs, we recommend $250 for that application process. And the only other change that we would be making at this time is to charge a fee for permit cancellation, which would be $50.
I move to adopt resolution number 2017-22, amending the building permit fee schedule as set forth in item number 14 in our December 4, 2017 agenda.
Second.
All right, discussion. I have discussion. When we take on a permit in Town of Ocean Ridge, though, we take on payment right away, do we not?
Yes, you do.
So if you cancel it, what do we get back?
If you cancel a building permit?
Say I come in, I bring a permit in, and I have to pay up front in Ocean
Yes.
Ridge,
Correct.
right? So if I cancel my permit, I call them and say, look, I'm just not gonna do it, are we sending a check back?
No, you have to, it's a fee.
No,
You have to
they're paying
pay
a
a
fee,
fee
$50.
to cancel it.
I understand that, but I paid a fee when I walked in there and gave you guys the permit.
Right,
So I
but,
come in there with a pool permit plan.
yes.
And the homeowner tells me I don't wanna do it. I've already paid the fee for the permit.
You don't
And I haven't
reimbursed
been-
for changing your mind.
You don't, right, you
Yeah,
don't
but
get
see, wait a minute, but you
reimbursed
don't
for
get,
it.
but you haven't, say you have not picked up the permit, so the only
Right.
thing you have done, it shouldn't be dependent upon where it has been done, where a part of it is in the review process.
Yeah, because
You know, I mean,
we-
this may be, I think that,
I
what
guess it
I'm gonna
depends,
ask, well, I
Jeff.
guess what I'm saying here is that, I think it's the severity of the permit. I mean, so what happens if somebody comes in and wants a fence permit? Fence permit's only $50, right? Okay, so I come in, I give my $50, and I say, you know what, I don't wanna do the fence. Well, come back in, cause you need me to pay me another $50 for a fence permit?
to
See,
cancel it, yeah.
the severity of the $50 needs to be commensurate with whatever the size of the permit is.
I think
Well-
that would often be a case-by-case situation. The $50 for the fence permit would have been fully processed at that time, and there are costs. This town could, we would assess that fee for the administrative costs. If somebody were to protest that, they could appeal that to get their money back. If you're talking about a new house permit and it's thousands and thousands of dollars, it would depend entirely how far through the process they've gotten. I mean, if they got through this comp plan review and planning process and the P&Z board told them, no way in heck would we want that to be built in that manner, or you can't go forward, or you need to change all this. I mean, there's a lot of skin in the game moving this through the system, and the attorney, I think, as well as the commission, would have to ultimately look at if there was a controversy or discrepancy as to somebody canceling a permit, how much would be a legitimate accessible
If you actually
amount.
read what's written here, this $250 fee only applies to the concept plan review. Concept plan review only applies to new homes or homes that are being renovated to 50% of their value.
That's correct.
So if somebody went in for a fence, it doesn't fall under $250.
Well,
No, but you're talking about the
No,
$50 cancellation.
but he's talking about the
though.
permit cancellation fee, which
The
is generic to all
permit
permits.
And the 250.
You just lose the $250. If you,
Yes, you're
Yeah.
correct, Steve.
Well, but if you're,
I think-
if, it just seems to me you're gonna have the same administrative costs, whether it's a $1,000 fence or a $3,000 fence.
That's what I was gonna
It's still
say.
gonna cost the same administratively for the town.
well, that's my next question. If you actually read the sentence here, the town is billed by the zoning official for review and attendance at the meeting, and the town attorney also bills for attendance at the meeting. So all that doesn't cost us more than $250?
Well, I think you're just talking about the $50 cancellation
wait a
fee.
minute.
aren't you?
My point is the
I think
$50
you're missing my
cancellation
point.
fee.
I'm paying up front. If I'm canceling the fee, you're keeping my money, and you've paid your fees. I haven't
No.
got anything returned. I've just gotten
But the-
reviews.
But the town has incurred a cost to cancel the permit, has
But
it
you-
not?
But
That's
what-
correct, Jim.
But the canceling, the cost of canceling a permit? Okay, let's discuss the cost of canceling a permit. What's the cost of canceling a permit? What is exactly do you do when you cancel a permit?
Well, it goes through the review process, so everything,
Well, no, say I call and cancel the I'm calling and canceling my permit,
yes.
right?
It depends on where it is in the process.
That's my point. So if I come in, I paid whatever it is, $50 or $5,000, where is it in review process? So if I have a $5,000 permit that I'm canceling, am I gonna, we have done it in Ocean Ridge. In the last 15 years, I know, we've given money back to people who have come in and canceled the permit. They paid $25,000 and we gave them back $17,000 of their money because it was only so far through the process. So the town of Ocean Ridge has covered their costs. I think sometimes you get a little too aggressive and I've been a proponent of raising the penalties and things like that, but the canceling, $50 canceling fee, I think is a little too aggressive because you're gonna, to me, it's a resident thing too. Remember, these are residents. And if you're canceling it because of a builder is one thing, or a contractor is one thing, but a resident decides, hey, I don't want to do it, you've paid your money up front. And that's really the biggest thing. I've paid my money when I come in here to give a permit to Ocean Ridge. I have to write a check, otherwise you guys don't even take it. So now when I call them like, look, I'm not really interested in doing it, forget about it. Okay, but come back in and pay another $50. Doesn't seem right.
Well, there's extra things that we have to do to cancel the permit too, so that's,
Yeah,
I
we
think
cover-
that's
we-
where the $50 comes in.
Our costs on permits is not cheap. So we kind of cover our costs and then some. And our permit fees are not cheap and they're not overly expensive, but they're certainly well within, in fact, a little over what a lot of the municipalities charge. And the fact that the town of Ocean Ridge actually gets paid up front is probably only half of municipalities in Palm Beach County. Most municipalities you pay after. So that's up to you guys, but I think it's kind of a
I agree with you.
little Chicken Little thing. Yeah, just say make my, the $250 thing, I don't have a problem with that. But the $50 fee, it's like, come on, $50? for what you've already incurred, you know what your costs are when we build it into the permit fee. You know, $50 fee to cancel it. I think it's an undue tax on the people of Ocean Ridge, to be perfectly frank. So anyway. Thank you.
So we
Sure,
need to
Paul,
make-
there are two separate issues. The 250 is a calculated cost for the review process. The 50 is a
So can we
administrative
adopt-
fee for processing something that then gets canceled. It's obviously different if you bring it in the morning, you call us up in the afternoon and say, no, I'm not, I changed my mind, I don't want to do that. It's still sitting on our desk, versus 2 or 3 months later when it's gone through all the steps, and then they call up and say, oh, no, we want our money back, we're not doing that.
Okay, well, I got another question then. How often does this happen?
I don't know, I'd have to look it up.
See, we don't even,
I'll have to
if
look
it's
through the
that
data.
infrequent, then really, why are we even going through this machination in the first place? So, to me, keep the 250, get rid of the 50, that's my opinion.
But how do you do a resolution?
No, you can do
You
that
can
in the
do the
resolution. You
resolution.
can say, go ahead, we're approving the resolution as to the 250 concept plan review, and that's it, not including the permit cancellation fee.
Okay.
It is really of no moment to me, one way or the other.
So you want to go ahead and make your motion?
What's the consensus? I can amend my motion. What do you all think?
Yeah.
You wanna
Just make a
eliminate the
motion,
50?
you'll know.
With the 250 and nix the 50.
I'm going to amend my motion to change the resolution to exclude the $50 permit cancellation fee.
Second.
Motion and second, any other discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, moving on to number 15, Resolution 2017-23. Tracy,
Okay, a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, amending the ethics training policy.
so we only have to go one time per term now?
No. So the Ethics Commission came in and they did an audit of our ethics training, and they determined that we're in full compliance. However, the policy that was adopted by the commission back in 2012 didn't have some of the things that they wanted in there. So they asked us to change it based on our current policies. So that's what is in front of you today.
I'm going to adopt resolution number 2017-23, amending the ethics training policy as set forth in item number 15.
Second. Motion and second, any public comment? Yes, sir.
I don't bring up a touchy subject, but would it include sexual harassment training? I mean, we've had these issues before in this town, no secret, but are we going to do another resolution for that training? Should we not have that training?
It's whatever is in the code of ethics
Okay.
that they send down to us, and we got to go through every year.
I just want it on the
twice.
record, so when we get another lawsuit.
Just a footnote on that, Mayor. Every employee in town took a sexual harassment training workshop just last Thursday night, every
Okay.
single employee in
So
town.
that should be publicly known. I mean, people should know that that's going on because of everything else that's going on.
And that was scheduled before all the current media
Okay.
flare-up. We had already
You're
put
on
that
the
in the
job,
process.
I see.
Thank you, Terry, for bringing that up. Yes, ma'am.
Betty Begum, 1 East Ocean Avenue. Just because I haven't said anything this evening, I think this whole business of ethical training is for the birds. If a person gets to be 50 years old and he's unethical, you can give him all the training you want. What you need to do is elect ethical people.
Thank you, Betty. All right, so there's a motion, a second, we had discussion. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, Don,
I just call your attention to my memo of December 4th, just giving you an update on where we are with where I am, and Jamie have attended a couple of meetings in Boynton, and we've read some material, and this is on the website for the town people to read, and I plan to keep doing this as we move along in this direction, looking at the sea level rise and the consequences and how we may try to avoid this in the future.
fantastic.
I would just add, we're also hosting the local group that Don sits on here in our community room this Friday from 9:30 to 11. I believe you'll be in attendance,
Yeah, I will
Don, as well as about 12 to 18 others from the immediate municipalities to sit in on their regular periodic meeting.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned for